installing Docker in Windows 10. So I'm gonna use this Windows 10 Professional Windows. So I have a list actually. So what we actually need to install Docker Desktop. So there are a couple of software in the Windows world where we can use, but today I'm gonna talk about Docker Desktop. So first of all, we need to have Windows 10, either professional or enterprise version that we have. And the most importantly, you have to enable Hyper-V support in your BIOS as well. By default, it's enabled in general, but you can check as well. And Hyper-V. So let's do this first, because this is the main thing that Docker Desktop is going to use that, right? So how I do that? I am just going into my control panel, and here I'm just choosing uninstall program, then turn on Windows features, and maybe I can wait for few minutes. So here is the Hyper-V support. So if the Hyper-V is not ticked in your system, you can tick it. Make sure you click on this plus button and just click in both the options, Hyper-V VM management platform and Hyper-V platform, and this all. So once you click enable, you have to just click OK. It may take some time and even maybe asking for a reboot, so you can do that. So once you do that, this is done. Right now, the second thing we have to do is we have to install. So I'm downloading Docker Desktop now. So this is the first requirement, and so Docker Desktop for Windows 10. I'm gonna open this first link by docs.docker.com, and here I'm gonna choose this download Docker from Docker Hub exactly. So this page is, here you can read require Windows 10 Professional Enterprise version, and I can just click on get Docker. So when I click, it will be downloading that exe file. Although I have downloaded that already here, Docker Desktop. So I'm just double clicking here, and it's gonna ask something for the installation purpose. Yes, and it may download some packages from internet, so make sure your internet is working. So I'm just waiting for some time, right? And it is basically use Windows container instead of Linux. So this is not possible as of now, but we are using these two default option. So it is getting download all the DLL and exe files. Just wait, you don't have to do anything. Don't be confused with the Docker Desktop version. Docker Desktop is nothing, it's a client software for Windows. Although Docker has a most latest version like 19 and 18, so 19.03 or something is the most recent version of Docker. Community edition is running in the current IT industry. So I'm just waiting for this. Okay, and once this Docker Desktop software will be installed, you can start this daemon, right? So let me tell you something meanwhile it is getting installed. So what Docker Desktop is all about basically, so it is going to, so Docker Desktop is going to download a VM virtual machine of Linux type. So it will download the Linux VM from internet, and Docker Desktop will give you the client in your Windows 10. So that means by using Hyper-V, it will install a VM, and from your Windows OS, like from CMD and from PowerShell, you can connect to that Docker, right? So Docker engine is running here. So Docker Desktop is overall a combination of Linux VM with Docker client configured in CMD and PowerShell, and then you can use that software, right? So this is in reality Docker Desktop is all about. So I think installation is close. So now I can just Yeah, double click here in Docker desktop. So see, now I can see here Docker desktop is running. It can take few seconds to install your Docker. You can see here in the uh, drop in the menu that the Docker desktop is starting. I think it got started, maybe starting still. So what they are doing basically in the backend, they are downloading a VM. So I can show you by just clicking on HyperV. So I'm opening the HyperV manager, and here you can see Docker desktop VM is running. That has around this few core CPU, 2 GB RAM, and once they download the VM, they will install Docker. Everything it's automated, right? I'm closing this, and I'm waiting. Is starting, right? So once the Docker desktop will be started, I'm waiting. I can use my PowerShell, right? I can use my Windows 10 PowerShell to run Docker version. See, Docker version is here. But if I type Docker version overall, see the client software is here, but unable to find Docker server daemon because still Docker desktop is starting. So I think it got started up and running. I can see now is running, right? When it is running, if I run the command again, wow, you can see this is your client and this is your Docker server has this thing. And I can just simply do Docker images. I don't have any images. I can just pull it, Docker pull Alpine. So it is not going to pull in my Windows machine. It is going to pull in the Hyper-V, right? So definitely this all VMs, this all images is going to download here. Okay, so that's the part of Docker installation. I can also use this Docker command from CMD itself. Let's say Docker images. Yeah, so client is already configured in my Windows 10. So this was the installation.